REST APIs can be very confusing. In this video, you will learn what they are, why we even use them, and how to get started in ASP.NET Core using .NET 9. I'm Alien, welcome to Code the Future, and I'm gonna try to explain REST APIs in simple terms. Let's say you create a web app or a startup, you might eventually want to build a mobile app or another piece of software, or even allow other applications to access your app's data. To make this easy and efficient, you'll need a way for all these different app types to communicate with your app. This is where REST APIs come in. Most web apps use REST APIs to handle this communication. Instead of directly interacting with databases or business logic, the front end of all these apps sends requests to the REST API, which processes those requests and sends back the necessary data. To explain the term, REST stands for Representational State Transfer, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a set of rules for how systems can communicate over the web using HTTP methods like GET, POST, PUT, and DELETE. API then stands for Application Programming Interface, but you'll understand it much better once we put it into action. Now we're gonna create our very first REST API in ASP.NET Core in .NET 9. I'm gonna explain you how the project is structured, everything you need to know to get started, and pretty much how things work. So I have just opened Visual Studio here. Let me just create a new project and search here in the templates for Web API kind of project. The first one here, click on Next. I'll just name this like First API. Click on Next. I'm going to leave the version to be .NET 9. Every other configuration here, I'll leave them as they are and just create our project. Okay, our project is already created. Let's just see the main files that we have in our project solution here on the right. So we have program.cs, which is the entry point of our program. So here basically we are building the app. Here's the services container, then here is the HTTP request pipeline. We have all of this middleware. Here we're redirecting HTTP requests in HTTPS, which is the secure version. We're authorizing the requests that come to our application. We're mapping them to the right controller, and then we are running our application. We have then the app settings.json file, which is the main configuration file of our project. Here we have the configurations for logging. If we connect our project to a database, we store here those configurations as well. This is a place where we write the physical location of the database. Then let's just go to the properties. We should see the launch settings.json file. Here we have our application URL for the development environment, and let me just see what else we got here. This is a C# class, weather forecast class, which basically is the model for our REST API. This is how our data will be structured. So our REST API will contain data that have a date, a temperature, two temperatures, one in Celsius, one in Fahrenheit, and then a property for the summary of this temperature. And we should have also pre-built controller here, like a boilerplate controller. So if we go to our application's URL / the name of this controller, we should get the data that are generated in this controller. In this HTTP GET method, basically is just generating some weather forecast data for us, so that when we make a request to this specific endpoint, we will get the data that will be generated here. If you want help building REST APIs or learning .NET in general, you can get it directly from me and other developers inside the .NET Squad community. You'll get direct support for whatever challenge you're currently facing, guidance on what to learn next, and you'll be surrounded by like-minded people just like you. If that sounds like something that would bring you closer to your goals, you can check it out by clicking the link below, and I'll see you inside. One big difference between this version and some of the previous versions is that our projects don't have Swagger anymore, which was this UI interface that we used to test our APIs. Instead, we see this file, this HTTP file that is generated now. If we write our endpoints here, we can test them directly from this file. We'll see another way as well in just a bit, but we should run the project first, and then we can test this first endpoint here, which is the endpoint specified in our controller that we just saw. Okay, we run the app. If I click on send request here in this window, should give us the response that we get if we make a request to this endpoint. And here we have this data that was all generated in the endpoint in this method right here. And this is one way we can test our endpoints. We're going to write them all here and can test them in this window. The second option that we have is actually to, let me just go to launch settings.json and take this URL that we have here, our application URL. If we go there, slash, then which was the endpoint, the name of our controller here, weather forecast, which we could also like see here. This is how we test our endpoint as well. We even have the option here to check pretty print, so that we have them in one line, the data that we get if we make a request to this API that we had there. So there are also other options there. There's Postman, but these are the two ways that are already built in your project. Now that you know what the REST APIs are, the video on the screen is what you should learn next. So click on it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you there.